Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Absolute Never Forever. A true story of life and love and death in the 1980s. Manhattan. Stave 1, November 1982 to November 1983. Si vultis nihil temere, cogitate omnia esse temenda. If you wish to fear nothing, consider that everything is to be feared. Seneca. Welcome to New York. I was only homeless in New York for a couple of months. When I woke up the last morning that I woke up in my Astoria, Queens apartment, I decided that I had better go to work. Because it seemed like a better idea to spend the day earning money than to waste a Sunday house hunting in New York. Consequently, having been at the bookstore all day, I never made provisions for that night's lodging. Brilliant. I was only in New York for 9 months, and I was already homeless. My worst fears actualized. I never thought it would come to this. I never thought it would happen this fast. Never this very fast. It never does it? Not this very fast. People have hopes and aspirations. People have ambitions and visions of success. Why else would anyone take all they own and put it in a big box on wheels from a rent-a-truck company and drive it hundreds of miles for home and safety and security? Because of those hopes. Yes, people will take a big risk if there's hope of a big payoff. People think someday, maybe. People like that word, maybe. There's so much hope in it. And we use it all the time. From maybe I'll have a sandwich to maybe I can beat the 52% divorce rate, and even on to maybe I can get away with murder. Yes, people believe in the B part of maybe. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. You need it if you want to do something. I needed it to move to New York. I needed it before I packed up all that I owned into a great big box on wheels and ride the big maybe into New York and on to glory. Maybe. And when I say I packed all that I owned, including my spare tombstone, I'm not kidding. November 9, 1982. My father, Harry, and I are in the curving driveway of their home on the outskirts of Howell, Michigan, out in the country. It was semi-rural. And we were loading everything that I owned into the back of a big box on wheels, a big rent-a-truck, using tape measures and geometry. He'd say, I need a box about 14 inches by 2 feet. And I'd say, I've got a box that's 2 feet by 1 feet. He'd say, perfect. And we loaded it into the truck, box at a time. My mother, Patricia, was inside cooking scallops for dinner. Absolutely delicious. Always a thrill to me. So my father and I spent a couple of hours puzzling the truck filled, and then we went in and had a delicious dinner. And after dinner, we sat down and listened to a stack of records. Yes, we had a stereo. We had a hi-fi. And in the old days, you would put a stack of records on the spindle with the little arm, and it would play through the LP, and it would go away, and the next one would plunk down. So we listened to a stack of records. We listened to Errol Garner and Bobby Darin and chatted. Pat and Harry each had a Manhattan, their favorite drink. Booze plus booze. Yes. I had a Black Russian, one of my favorite drinks. Yikes, booze on booze. I used to drink Black Russians. Ngang, ngang, ngang. Anyhow, we sat around, and they were telling me how proud they are of my accomplishments in the theater and how big and happy their hopes were for my future in New York. We had a lovely evening. And then, before all too long, it was late. And so we retired. Before we retired, I went out to look at the stars. I went and stood outside, and it was cloudy. But it was one of those Michigan white sky nights. And I stood there looking at that Michigan white sky. And I didn't know how important it would become to me in the days when I couldn't witness it anymore. Before I knew it, I was asleep. Before I knew it, it was the next morning. November 9th. No, that was yesterday. November 10th, 1983. What am I talking about? Excuse me. It's November 10th, 1982. We wake up at around 5 in the morning. Dad was an experienced traveler and always said this earlier, the sooner the start, the better. So we wanted to definitely get on the road by 6 a.m. We didn't have any breakfast or anything. We just had our vitamin and a glass of orange juice. And then we said goodbye. So I hugged my mother, and you don't like to do it, but you involuntarily do. When you're saying goodbye to somebody, your mind has a little flash of, what if this is the last time we see each other? What if one of us dies? And then you dismiss that. You don't want to be a fatalist or anything like that. As I'm hugging my mother. And my mother is not being a fatalist at all. She's very sunny and peppy on this cloudy morning. She's pretty sure that as soon as I get to New York, I'm going to get a Broadway contract. And certainly by New Year's. And then the Hollywood film contract wouldn't be that far behind. She was certain of it. So she said, I just can't wait for those front row tickets on Broadway. My dad and I went out to the van. I hugged her again. And she said, don't forget my tickets. And Harry and I took off, moving right along. Excuse me. We started to drive. It's a long drive. Harry did the lion's share of the driving. You know, I drove when he would let me, but I think he actually liked driving. I think he actually enjoyed it. I took care of the radio stations. He usually liked Muzak and 101 strings and elevator music. Soft, fake, artificial music, I always call it. And he could always find those stations. But I was searching the dial for the entire drive, because when you're going through the country, the stations come and go. And all they had was Top 40. The number one song in America that week was Up Where We Belong by Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warnes, right? Whenever I see Joe Cocker perform, I always wonder, is that man all right? Also in the top 5 were Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons Project. Oh, I loved Alan Parsons ever since he scared the shit out of me with LP I, Robot. Also on the top 5 was Eye of the Tiger. Oh man, that was on every station. We kept on hearing it and hearing it. It was pretty big. By Survivor, pretty big. It was on every station in every state. Oh. We stopped for breakfast just on at the far end of Ohio before the Pennsylvania border. And after we had our rest stop eggs, I took over the driving. And Pennsylvania is a long, 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 long state. It's so beautiful. Oh, it's driving into the foothills of the Appalachians. And then it's tunnels. These tunnels, my whole life, we used to go back to visit the family seat in South Jersey, in Woodbury, New Jersey, a little suburb of Philadelphia, actually. And we would go back every summer and take pretty much this same drive every summer, and we'd go through those tunnels. And I always thought it seemed like going into another dimension, driving right through a mountain. It's magical, yes, a little bit spooky. So as we drove, we sat and talked about stuff, life and things like that. We switched the radio stations from time to time as they got fuzzy. And when we were chatting at one point, talking about business for some reason, and he said to me, you have to be shrewd and make shrewd decisions. And I said, okay. And then I realized that this was some sort of fatherly sage advice. So I wanted to make sure that my next question didn't sound too stupid. In spite of that, I said, how do you do that? And he chuckled his little chuckle. And he said, you just have to do your best. Right then, Alan Parsons' Eye in the Sky came on the radio. In that song, there's a lyric about how the eye in the sky is looking at you and it can read your mind. I'm like, I can't imagine what the eye in the sky would be looking at me for and what could possibly be in my mind that the eye would want to read. I didn't know what to make of it, but I took it as cosmic. We drove for a few more hours, and lo and behold, shortly after dusk, we first set eyes on Manhattan. You could see the buildings, you could see the lights. It was a hazy, cloudy day, and Manhattan had a sort of haze halo above it. But it was very beautiful. As soon as we saw it, as soon as my dad saw it, he said, there it is. And, I looked. I didn't even feel scared. I didn't know what I was in for. I didn't know what lay ahead of me. I was just excited, and I looked at the Empire State Building. And I said, I'll see you tomorrow. We pulled in front of my new home on Steinway Street in Astoria, Queens, sometime between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. on on November the 10th, 1982. My new roommates, Lily and Suzanne and Rodent, and a couple of other Detroiter friends of ours, Carp and Weasel, were there to help with the unloading. Yes, it was wonderful. Everybody insisted that my dad just sit it out and take it easy, but he insisted that he had been sitting for the last 13 hours and he wanted to move some boxes. So he did. And between all of us, we moved those boxes from the carefully packed you-move-em truck to the upstairs, up a flight of stairs, into the second floor apartment in pretty short order. So we're sitting in the living room of this 2-bedroom apartment. We're all sitting, catching our breath amongst the boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. My dad stands up and he says, "Where's the nearest liquor store?" And Suzanne says, "Oh, there's one just 3 storefronts down." And they said, They said, "Do you want somebody to go with you?" He says, No. I'm just going to go down here and pick up a couple of things. Does anybody need anything?" And they said, no, are you sure you don't want someone to go with you? He said, don't worry about it. I'll be back in a flash. And so he did. He took off. And he was. He was back in a flash. He was back in a flash. He brought with him a bottle of bourbon, a bottle of vermouth, and a 6-pack of Coke. He just wanted to make some Manhattans. So we all sat around, all 7 of us sitting around in this tiny living room, squoze between the boxes, sitting and chatting until both of the Harrys were beginning to nod off. I knew he had and so did he, knew he had a big drive of him tomorrow. So everybody sort of left so that we could get some rest. Well, my roommates went to their rooms. Harry took the couch, and I slept on the floor. I fell asleep for the first time in New York. Suddenly, it was morning. 11/11, 1982. I wanted to wake up in New York on 11/11 for the first time because it's a magical number, you know. My dad was up and ready to go by 6 a.m. I woke my roommates, and Lily said, do you want some breakfast or anything? And he said no, he just wanted a glass of orange juice and be on his way. He'll get something to eat in a little bit. So he and I went downstairs, and the van was parked right in front. When we pulled up, we brought the truck, right in front of our apartment. Just the greatest parking spot possible, just by coincidence. You know, they call that the Doris Day parking spot, yes. Because Doris Day always, whenever she was in a movie, whenever she pulled up in front of any building, she always got the front parking spot right in front of the door. That's the Doris Day parking spot. Well, that's where we were, by coincidence. Just fantastic. So we hugged each other, told each other we love each other, and that was it. And he said, toodaloo, and he got in the car, and he drove away. I just stood there on Steinway Street, looking up and down the street, saying, oh my word, I live here now. I looked up at the apartment, this is my home. This is my neighborhood. Look at, our apartment is above a closed down embroidery shop and a dry cleaning shop. And if you happen to enjoy that smell of dry cleaning fluid, you are in for a treat. Otherwise, not so much. No. And there was the liquor store that was 3 doors down. There was a party store. They don't have party stores in New York. They don't. It was just a deli, they call it. They can't sell liquor and beer in regular party stores. They don't have such a thing. They don't. Interesting. But there was a liquor store. Anyhow, this is my new neighborhood. It's very exciting. I went into the apartment and went through my boxes until dawn. And my roommates, eventually, they went back to sleep after we went downstairs. And they eventually climbed out, and we all sat around chatting and stuff. And today was my first day in New York, and I knew that I wanted to go see the Empire State Building. Yes. Yes. So, I got ready for my first big adventure, my first solo adventure in my new home in New York, in New York City. I look so forward to talking with you again.